In today's video, I will show you how I paint my own fish replica eyes. The question is, why do I paint my own eyes? First, there's absolutely nothing wrong with pre-painted eyes, but they rarely match the fish eyes you are replicating. So I paint my own to match the fish I choose to replicate. Secondly, painting the eyes is my favorite part of fish replica art. If you have been following this series, I am almost finished with the green sunfish, except its eyes. It's the eyes that bring my replicas to life. I'm Mr. R, and I'll teach you how I do it. Let's begin. So here's my replica with all its fins and top coat, but no eyes. So let's create them. First thing I do is I put down a piece of tape to hold the eye in place. And they make a caddy for that, but you don't need to use that. Now, instead of painting the pupil, I create a mask, and I use Elmer's glue to do that. And then I just take a toothpick and push the glue around to form the familiar triangular shape. Not all fish have a triangular pupil. This one does, so use your source. I then seal the inside of the eye with Krylon matte finish. This allows the paint to adhere better to the inside of the acrylic eye. And I use pearl satin gold paint and a fine brush to paint the gold ring that goes around the pupil. When I do this, I make sure that the glue is dry and I cover the mask. I make sure the paint gets up onto the glue, and you encircle that. You don't have to be too particular at this point because you're going to scratch some of it away. I then heat dry it. That really seals it. And then I take a needle and I pull out the mask. And that's how you create a perfect pupil shape. And then you fill that in with black paint. There you can see I have that nice triangular pupil. So I've created the gold ring, and now I want to go to the outside edge of that gold and scrape some of it off to make it even thinner. You have to be careful here, but you can scrape it off as thin as you like or leave it as thick as you like depending on your source. Now I'm going to take black paint and I'm going to fill in the mask on the inside, which will create a perfect pupil shape against the gold ring. The pupil's done and the gold ring is done. Now this fish's real eye had little flakes of gold specks in it, and I'm going to use what is known as a metallic powder. And you want to use this carefully. You don't want to overuse it. You're going to take a dry brush, get a little bit on, and you're going to tap it until a little bit falls off. It's very easy to overdo this step, so use caution. Less is more. This particular fish had a very dark eye, so I'm going to use a dark brown transparent paint to fill in parts of the iris and a little bit up on the sclera, but not too far up. Then I'm going to take an airbrush and hit it with a little bit of black paint, simply to fill in areas that I left open. And I'm going to heat treat this with a hair dryer, and that seals that particular coat. Now I'll paint the sclera with some green and brown mixed together to get that top little ring. I know, it looks terrible, doesn't it? But next I'll turn it over and show you the results. There's the eye. Pretty cool, huh? Looks a little different on the opposite side. These are the colors I used to create the eyes, plus the metallic powder. And this fish had a dark eye. I'm going to mount the eyes now, but I'm only going to film one side because it's the exact same thing on the opposite side, just to save time. I use 5-minute epoxy, and I want to make sure I mix it thoroughly before applying. And then I'm going to put a drop inside of the eye socket. Remember, I pre-fit this eye, so this is the left side of the fish from the fish's perspective. I'm going to fill that up with glue. Not completely, but just let it level out. And I'm going to drop the eye in there and make sure that the pupil is facing in the right direction. It's a triangle forward towards the mouth. And now I'm going to seal the gap, and this creates kind of like the eyelid of the fish. The fish don't have eyelids, but it creates that seal around the sclera. And I'll feather that out so it's nice and smooth, and that'll disappear when I put the top coat on. I will do the same thing on the right side of the eye, and that's how I bring a fish to life with painting the eyes myself. That's how I paint my fish eyes. When it comes to nature, every fish eye is different. So don't be afraid to give eye replica painting a try. In an earlier video, I mentioned that I had an idea of how I was going to display this replica. In my final video of this series, that idea finally came to fruition. So stop back and take a look at the completed Green Sunfish Replica presentation. I'm Mr. R, and this is the Rondinelli Project. Remember, what you imagine, you create. Take care. Class dismissed.